In the end, 6 far-right Republicans switched their vote to present to end a week-long deadlock in the House and elect Kevin McCarthy House Speaker. These extremists have led efforts to try and keep Trump in power after the 2020 presidential election. All but one voted to decertify the results of that election and voice support for the Capitol riot. Democrats have been capitalizing on the chaos among Republicans and tying it all back to the January 6th Capitol attack that happened 2 years ago this week. Representative Annie Kuster of New Hampshire told Axios, quote, "The whole campus is aware of this juxtaposition of these two dates and what they're attempting to do, which is to disrupt our democracy." Excuse me. Joining me now to discuss this is Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel. Madam Attorney General, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us. So these last 6 Republican holdouts, they are election deniers. And I want to get your thoughts on what this tells us about the power election deniers and election denialism still has and how it has jumped, if you will, from the rioters outside the Capitol into the halls of power 2 years later.
Yeah, well, we're still struggling with that here in the state of Michigan. And I should say that even though the election deniers who were running for all of our top offices in Michigan, including governor, Secretary of State, and Attorney General, they may have lost by large margins, but they're actually, many of them are now running to be the chair of the Michigan Republican Party, and are one of them is likely to be elected to that position by the party. So you're going to have election deniers that remain in charge of the entirety of the Michigan Republican Party here in the state of Michigan. And I think that's very bad news. And it means that election denialism is not going away. It's going to continue to be a presence, and it's going to continue to be something we're going to have to fight vigorously against for the foreseeable future.
What precedent, does this infighting within the GOP set for the next 2 years? I mean, if you think of the Republican Party as these wings that have emerged on a national level in Congress, do you see it also play out within Michigan local politics within the Republican Party?
Absolutely. Now, fortunately, at the state level, the Democrats have, flipped both the House and the Senate, which is the first time that's happened in many, many decades. But if you look at, for instance, county commissions across the state of Michigan, which, people don't normally pay attention to until your county commission has been overtaken by people who don't believe in science, who don't understand how education works, and who have these really far-right radical ideas about what governing actually means. And unfortunately, what it means in many instances is not getting anything realistic done to help the people that you're there to serve. And I think that's what we're going to see in the United States House of Representatives, a whole lot of nothing actually being accomplished that will help everyday Americans. And that's incredibly unfortunate.
Let me ask you about your state for a moment. On Friday, you reopened an investigation into the 16 Republican electors who falsely claimed that Donald Trump won Michigan in the 2020 election, citing new evidence released by the January 6th committee. Michigan GOP co-chair Meshawn Maddock has already basically outlined their plot to submit these alternate electors. Your reaction to that, and talk to us about how you came to the decision to reopen this investigation. What was specifically the new evidence that compelled you to do so?
Well, look, there has been a mountain of evidence in this case, honestly, since the very beginning. We referred it, along with many other state AGs in swing states, to the federal authorities, and the Department of Justice, I assume, is continuing to investigate. But we're really at a point where it's hard to make sense of why, with this, evidence that we see each and every day and that has been presented by the January 6th committee, why we wouldn't charge under state law when we have the evidence to do so. And the law supports those charges. And obviously, the federal authorities, I'm certain, will continue to move forward. But, the way I see it is here in the state of Michigan, it's a 14-year felony to pass a bad check. You know, every day in my department, we issue charges of, welfare fraud and unemployment insurance fraud for things that are so relatively minor compared to the offense of attempting to use a document to overturn a presidential election where over 5.5 million people voted in our state. And it's really hard for me to explain to my constituents, and it's hard for me to reconcile personally why it is that if you have enough money and influence and power, that you can get away with just about any crime. I don't think that that's a good policy, and I don't think it's what the people who elected me to office want to see. And that's why I think it's time to move forward on this matter and to, resume our investigation.
Speaking of moving forward, I do have to ask you this question about Michigan politics. Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow announced that she would not be running for Senate in the next election cycle. I know you just won yours. Have you given any thought about that, whether that is a position that you would like to throw your hat in the ring for?
Well, first of all, Senator Stabenow has served the state of Michigan, and I would say the entire United States of America, with dignity and honor for over 20 years. And so many of us are heartbroken to be losing her from the Senate. But I appreciate your question. Everyone from my mother to the guy who works at the Speedway down the street who thinks I might be the governor, to a guy whose profile is the Hamburglar on Twitter, have been clamoring to know whether or not I would throw my name in the hat for United States Senate. But the good people of this state elected me to be Attorney General for the next 4 years. That's where I think I can do the most good. And that's where I intend to stay. You have a standing invite to come back, and you could add MSNBC host to that growing list of people who would love to know whether or not you will throw your hat in the ring. Attorney General Dana Nessel, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for making time for us. Thanks for having me.